Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome to another edition of EHeroes. And today's eHero, actually, I'm bringing back an eHero from episode 17, Steve Gamlin. Now, you probably remember him as the motivational firewood guy. Well, he's back, and we're going to talk about all kinds of great stuff over the next, 25 minutes. So welcome back, Steve.
Hey there, Rob. Thanks so much for having me back. Super appreciative.
So, excuse me, everybody. I got this cough that's just lingering, but we're going to start off with taps. And most people are like, what the heck is a tap? So I'm going to have Steve kind of fill you in, but usually when you get tapped, if you don't take care of that, you're going to get smacked.
Yes, you are. The taps that we're talking about, you and I have had this conversation before, is those little gut moments when life is trying to tell you something. Maybe you're off on this little path and you're going and going and going, wishing something better would come along. Well, the taps are those little hints of opportunity that are out there. And if you're a super fast-paced, creative entrepreneur who has a lot of squirrels popping up in your life, chances are you are going to miss some of these taps. And the problem with missing them is if you start veering too far off the path and you're ignoring all these little taps, eventually life is going to smack you down. And what happens when a lot of people get smacked is they don't know why it happened. They feel like they're a victim of life, or that life is picking on them, or they're getting, bullied around by the world or by the man or whoever. And, I think we just have to be more aware every single day of these little opportunities. We're all on this path, and every once in a while we see an opportunity to take a better path, but we don't always listen to those opportunities. And we just, ignore. It's tapping us on the shoulder. Well, finally, life, every once in a while, smacks us right upside the head. And then it slows us down. And if you're smart enough, you'll look back and say, oh, yeah, I kind of should have seen that coming. I mean, very few smacks across the head are undeserved in some respect. There aren't too many, surprises when it comes to this stuff. So, just try to be more aware of the taps and the opportunities. I mean, heck, every time I'm on an interview with you, it's because you reached out with a little opportunity. Well, if I keep ignoring it long enough, here's the smack upside the head. I'm never on Rob's show again. So, listen to the taps, get on the stick, take advantage of the opportunities.
And a lot of these young entrepreneurs, they look at what's going on with other people and they think that they have to emulate that. Yeah. The problem is when you emulate the people that are getting smacked, maybe you learn a life lesson, but sometimes you're ignoring the taps that are happening to you because you're trying to emulate someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. And you forget sometimes too that these people had their own taps, which led them to where they are right now. I mean, you can't just hit the fast forward button and catch up to somebody where they are right now and skip over all of those learning opportunities, that learning process, the fire that kind of forged them into where they are now. And too many people think they can just jump and leap and go ahead and be that person. When first of all, you shouldn't be anyone else. You should be you. You can learn from other people. And that's great. You can learn what made them, then apply those principles and make you into you, uniquely you. But pay attention to those taps along the way that keep you on the path of being you and not just trying to be someone else. When I first started as a speaker 16 plus years ago, people thought, oh, you're going to be Tony Robbins. Well, I've never wanted to be Tony Robbins. I can learn from Tony Robbins, but I don't want to be him. And, once in a while, when you start to fall into, especially in the early days, patterning yourself too close to someone else, life can smack you back and put you back in your own lane, which is a good thing. Just pay attention when those things happen.
You mentioned Tony Robbins. I had a person reach out to me last year and they said they wanted to be the next Tony Robbins. And I said, how much money you have? And they're like, what do you mean? I said, well, if you want to be the next Tony Robbins, you're going to have to put out a lot of money to convince people that you are the next Tony Robbins. And they said, well, we don't have that kind of money. I said, well, then don't be Tony Robbins, be you. Yeah. I said, it's going to be a heck of a lot cheaper. And they're like, and they're like, well, no, we don't want to be us. We want to be them. I said, well, then I can't help you. I said, because this all goes back to what we talked about on episode 17, which was authenticity. And you can't be authentic, when one, you're trying to be someone else because you think that's better, but you're going to ignore the taps that people are, placing on you. And then eventually you're going to get smacked and say, wow, great. I just wasted all that money trying to be someone else when I could have just been me.
Yep. Yeah. And going back to that message, that's still, somebody asked me, this was years ago now, I got interviewed to be a part of a book. When somebody just put out the query on social media, what do you think is the number one speaker superpower? And I said instantly in all caps, authenticity. Because you just be who you are. You polish up your gifts, you sharpen your saw, whatever metaphor you want to use, and you present that to the world. And people say, well, what's so great about being that way? And my answer is, I can be walking down the street and be me, 100% me. I could be on a stage in front of 1,000 people and still be 100% me. I'm in this interview with you right now being 100% me. My YouTube channel, my own radio show, all those things. I'm uniquely myself, for better or for worse, at all times. I never have to look over my shoulder about anything I've said or done. And if you ask me for advice or looking for inspiration, I'm going to share you something from my own life. Not Tony Robbins' life or Jack Canfield's. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Jack Canfield, but I don't want to be Jack Canfield. And I've met him and had a great conversation with him. I just want to be me, wherever I'm at. And it's serving me very, very well to be that, because I never have to pretend to be someone else. I don't have to put on a different hat or a different mask for different places. I'm just me. And if you dig that, great, come along for the ride. And if not, that's okay. Go find somebody else.
And what I tell people this, actually I tell entrepreneurs this all the time. I said, you're an entrepreneur. You're not a politician. You don't have to please everybody, So, be yourself. And some of them just don't get it. They think that they have to, walk on glass and be someone different for every client that they deal with. And I
exactly.
But what I also see though is a lot of entrepreneurs, they're getting distracted. They're suffering from the what I call the SOS, the shiny object syndrome, and they're buying all this stuff that they don't need, that doesn't make them authentic.
Yeah. And it's, I've been an entrepreneur. I've been self-employed, at least part-time, for about 30 years, full-time for about 17 or 18 years now. And believe me, working from home and being a fast-paced creative individual, my radar is up constantly for distractions. And there are behavior patterns that I've also got, like, procrastination. I just wrote a whole article on it that's going to be in a magazine next month. And, coincidentally or ironically, it's the first article I've ever finished 7 days in advance. Because I talked to the publisher of the magazine today, and I said, it's going to be called Spring Forward, but don't fall back into your bad behaviors. And one of my worst is procrastination. And you combine procrastination and distraction, you're never going to get anything done.
Right.
So I recently hopped on Facebook Live, and you happen to catch this one, talking about picking one thing and getting it done. And several people private messaged me and said, oh my gosh, that was so helpful. How'd you know I needed that today? I said, actually, I needed it. I was yelling at myself here in the office, focus, focus, focus. And when you've got 20 fires going on around you and you keep trying to put them all out or keep them all lit, you're not going to get anywhere. And I finally just got mad and went on Facebook Live and created a message to myself, which allowed me today to wake up and say, I'm going to write this article a week early and not wait till the last minute.
I have so many people ask me, well, Rob, you create posts for all your clients. You write articles, you write books. You're always posting on social. You're making videos. How do you find time to do everything? I said, you know what? I focus. And what I mean by is, I'll have one day where I'm just doing videos. I'll have one day where I'm just writing. I have one day where we're just creating content. If you don't do it that way, you're saying, oh, I got to write this article. Wait a minute, I got to get on social. I got to do this. But then you're distracted the whole day because you're not hyper focused on one thing.
Yep. Yep. It's kind of like the variety shows like Carson and some of those other shows where you'd see a I don't know, magician or whatever coming out spinning plates.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw one guy one night, he had 29 plates spinning. And what would happen is he gets them going, going, going. When he gets to the last one, people start cheering. And then all of a sudden they go, oh, because the first plate was wobbling.
Mm-hmm.
So he spent 8 or 10 minutes just running back and forth, plate to plate, keeping them spinning. What did he accomplish in that entire amount of time? Well, he had a lot of things moving, but he never got to actually stop and enjoy what he created because he constantly had to go back
Mm-hmm.
and expend energy and time and keep it just moving. I mean, not even spinning at full tilt, just to keep it from crashing. And as entrepreneurs, too many of us do that. I've done that for years. I'm 51 years old. I spent most of my life being that way. It's exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. And it does not always serve me well. I used to try to justify it and say, well, the best ideas come to me at the last second.
Mm.
No, an idea comes to me at the last second and I finish just in time. I've crafted stage stories while driving to an event that I'm keynoting.
Mm-hmm.
In the car, I'm thinking, well, I never did come up with a good story for that lesson. Well, let me think of one now.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I can make it work. It may not be a home run. It might be a triple
Mm-hmm.
or double. But if I just focus, like you said, with your articles, and you've got so much you're juggling with everything for yourself and your clients, focus on that one thing and get it done. The article that I wrote earlier today, again, 7 days early, is one of my favorites that I've ever written. I actually put my head down and banged out 785 words like that. And it flowed because I didn't, I had my door closed. I had the shade drawn, so I wasn't looking outside like, oh, a squirrel. And actually just wrote it. And I sent it to the publisher and he goes, aren't you the guys normally begging me for a 3-day extension? I'm like, yes,
Mm-hmm.
but not this time. He goes, and what's this about again? I said, procrastination. And, that's where we are. And if I can get myself, to me, this was a huge victory today. It may not seem like a big deal. It was a huge victory for me to do that. And enough wins is going to retrain me. Hopefully that's the plan. That is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
To not slip back, to spring forward into this new way of thinking and operating, because it's only going to benefit me in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Well, not just benefits you, but, it benefits other people.
Yeah.
You wait to the last minute to turn something in and there's could be errors, edits, omissions, things that you want to add, but you don't have time. You got it done way in advance. Now you can look it over and go, oh, this is good. But if I add something here, I can make it better. Or, but you got plenty of time to play around with it.
Yeah. And that's typically what I do. And unfortunately, when I wait till the last second, it robs me of that opportunity. I mean, I've seen it, I've read it in the actual magazine a month and a half later, a month later. And as I'm reading it, I'm thinking, oh, I wish I had those 3-4 days. Boy, this could have been so much better. And that has happened so many times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I also know that you're doing, things that, not really benefit your business, but benefit your heart. And you're going out and you're doing work for the community and you're helping the homeless and you're doing things that some entrepreneurs don't think is worthwhile.
Well, and sadly, they're missing out on something. I mean, I'm part of a group of family and friends. We call ourselves Beach Bum Philanthropy because Beach Bum is my aspiration in life. It's this laid back, cool, calm, feet in the sand lifestyle that I want to get myself to. So I'm part of this whole group of people who do it. I definitely do not want my name on it or to be singled out for doing anything special, but I think more people would benefit and grow, and that includes growing their businesses by focusing on that as part of your business, giving back. It is one of the greatest team building exercises you can do, as a partnership, a team, a company, whatever it is to make that part of the fabric of your business. And as an entrepreneur, it's a great break for your brain and it increases your heart to just take an hour or two and give back. Now, the challenge of that is I used to try to do a little bit of that every day and it would derail my work.
Mhm.
So now I focused on a couple of hours a week where we try to squeeze in that's that week's giving. If I hear about something on a Monday, but I'm not planning to do stuff till Thursday, I'll say, hey, can you wait till Thursday? I'm going to be in town delivering lunches at 10:30. Can I do this with you at 11? And then stack it together. When I found out that it actually excites me to get back to my office and create whatever the next thing is, because it's already, I can put my brain back to work because my heart has already exercised.
Mhm.
And I think it's a really important thing. Again, stay focused on the giving part as well. Don't get distracted with that, and don't wait till the last minute. I did a Facebook Live on January 29th. I was just watching it again this morning in a snowstorm in my driveway. I'd been thinking for days of crafting a video in the studio and making it this big thing. Finally just said, I'm done procrastinating because it's not going to be perfect. Had my phone in my back pocket after bringing the garbage cans to the curb and said, it's snowing like mad right now. I'm just going to go live now.
Mhm.
From the heart, from the gut, just spilled out this message. It's the most viewed Facebook Live I ever did. I got tired of procrastinating and thinking of ways to craft the perfect message.
Mhm.
And through just being open and honest for 4 minutes in a snowstorm under the lights of my garage, 8,600 views of a Facebook Live. I've never come close to that before. And the best part was all of these people who kept answering me or sending me private messages, oh, Steve, we've been thinking of doing something. They went and took action that week, wherever they were in the country, and went to a shelter and did this. And I've heard back from a few more since then saying, hey, my family and I have done more together.
Mhm.
So procrastinating and trying to make a video perfect just in a moment took an action. And sometimes that's all you got to do. If you're overthinking something and putting it off and not getting it done, just stand up and say, what can I do right now that is uniquely, authentically me? The
Don't wait.
message wasn't perfect. Nothing was perfect about it, but it's the biggest thing I ever did.
And most entrepreneurs wait to put something out until it's perfect. And I said, perfect costs too much money. Good is good enough. Get it out there, because good is when good is good enough, you have more emotion to it, just like you experienced. And the reality is that Apple, Microsoft, Google, all these tech companies never put out a perfect product. If they did, you would never have updates. But
Exactly.
they put these products out, they don't work as well as they promised, and then they send out updates constantly to tweak it. That's what we have to do as entrepreneurs. Don't worry about being perfect. Just get your face out there and take action.
Yeah. Yeah. In my old recording studio computer, there are 12 versions of an audio training that I created about 5 or 6 years ago. 11 of them have the word final in the file, or final in the file name. And I spent over 3 years, I added it up. It was around 240 hours of time in my recording studio to craft 74 minutes and 52 seconds of audio.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd listen to it and go, ugh, and I'd go back and I disassemble the entire thing and do it again, version 2. After version 11, somebody asked me one question about it. And I said, well, yeah, they said, well, when you do your live events and you say this, that's the most important thing that's had an impact on me. And I looked back in the program, it wasn't in there.
Mm-hmm.
I added it in there, and 3 weeks later, it was done and it was out. I just kept, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. It's not perfect. It's still not perfect, but people have been buying it and really creating great results with it. So I guess I'll just release some updates now and then if I have to fix anything, but it's out there. We're about to do a big digital relaunch of it. So it's now even still imperfect, but bigger and better and actually available. I'll take imperfect if it's available. We just fix it after that.
Yeah.
But don't procrastinate yourself into never actually releasing something and then having somebody read your obituary and said, oh, he created the greatest thing ever invented. He just never released it because it wasn't perfect.
When I first came out with my first book back, 2012, 2013, I spent hours, hundreds of hours to make this thing perfect. And I'm ready to launch the book. And someone calls up and she said, well, you're going to use one of my examples in your book. my lawyer says, and gives me a whole list. I was like, you're getting free publicity. What do I? And they wanted to get paid for it. And I'm like, this isn't going to be, you know what? Forget it.
Yeah.
And I took it out, put something else in, and I called, hey, I'm going to put something of yours in the phone, in my book. You okay? Yep. Went through, published it. People loved the book.
Nice.
But it wasn't perfect, right? It had spelling errors. But, now when I put out a book, and we just produced our 20th book. So 20 books in 6 years isn't bad.
Yep.
I get them as good as I can, and I put them out. If customer calls me up, hey, I read your book and I found a spelling error. Great, what is it? And then I go in, I fix it, re-upload it, it's done.
Yeah.
And people are like, wow, it's that easy to fix a book? It is for me.
Well, and technology has made it so easy for us to be less than perfect these days. Like you said, when it's a print on demand or whatever platform you might be using, if it's not perfect, it's a keystroke away. You don't have to go down into the garage with your whiteout and fix 1,000 different books like we had to do in the old days. My first book came out in December of 2004.
Mm-hmm.
It's not perfect, and I made one of the worst mistakes you can make. I actually put my mailing address in the book, and within a year was divorced and moved. And I just found a box of 100 books. I thought they had sold out years ago. I hadn't even promoted it in years. We bought our house, and I took all my boxes out of storage, blew a half-inch of dust off one of them, and found about 100 copies of the book that I thought was sold out 13 years ago. Now, every time I sell one, I have to go in and take out that address. Mm-hmm. Well, now, if it was print on demand or whatever platform, I could go in and just fix it. Mm-hmm. Don't be so scared that something's going to change and you can't fix it. There's almost nothing that can't be fixed these days. And that applies to so many parts of your business. I people say, well, I can't go on camera yet and make YouTube videos because my delivery's not perfect. My room's not perfect, my whatever. I found my first videos recently when I was taking apart the old recording studio and building the new one downstairs. I found my original videos. It was a Sony Handycam without an external mic. I had it like 9 feet away from me. Horrible lighting. And I'm talking like this because I am going to motivate you today. I mean, if you could put macaroni and glitter on these videos, they'd be hanging on my mom's fridge.
Yeah, well, I looked at some of my old YouTube videos from 2010, and they're horrible. And I'm like, I don't care. They're going to stay.
Yeah, they're not perfect, but you had to go through there. Had to go through that stage. You have to be willing to be imperfect on a camera, which is about the worst thing we can do for our egos, is to put ourselves on camera. And I've got a meme somewhere that says, face not perfect, hair not perfect, smile not perfect, body not perfect, mind not perfect, kicking butt anyway. Mm-hmm. That has helped me going for so many years. And I have people all the time say, well, Steve, I can't go on camera yet because I'm not perfect. How'd you get so comfortable on camera? Then I shot more than 400 uncomfortable videos, and that's why I get to be comfortable on camera. Mm-hmm. I never did a Facebook Live until last early summer when somebody challenged me. They said, man, the technology's been around 5 years. Why aren't you doing it? I said, because it can't be perfect. Because if I make a mistake, unlike the recording studio, I can't just fix it.
Yeah.
And I said, well, why would you want to fix it? Mm-hmm. So somebody created a 30-day Facebook Live challenge. I've done about 90 of them since.
Yeah, I stopped editing videos a long time ago. I said, for one, it takes too long, and two, nobody cares. Let them see the real me. And I put out a video, I guess it was 4 years ago, about some tip on Facebook, right? And it's one of my most viewed videos, and the information is out of date. So the information I'm giving people on video is wrong, and people are like, well, why don't you take the video down? Because it's my most watched video.
Yeah, why not? And you never know. I get the funniest comments sometimes from people when I finally stop procrastinating. And again, it comes down to the article I wrote today. It said, stop procrastinating, basically spring forward. Like, see an opportunity, feel a tap on your shoulder or a smack on the back of your head, and jump forward by taking a risk or taking a step. Mm-hmm. So what, that video is out of date. You may still get somebody that sees that video and says, well, if Rob can do it, I can do it. And they go out and do their own video, or they start getting into social media, or they learn from you and do something with their business.
Mm-hmm.
Leave them up there. I keep all my bloopers and outtakes. I mean, I do edit my videos because I tend to say everything 5-10 times and take the best, but I keep my bloopers and outtakes just to show them real. And for anybody that thinks everything I do is perfect right out of the gate, there are a few choice nicknames I have for myself that you'll find in those blooper reels now and then. And we're just being real. Right. And I actually have a second camera now recording a lot of the stuff I'm doing, because I'm working on a coaching program to help people just be more authentically themselves, so they see what's really happening behind the scenes. Oh, here's that perfect video. Here's what really happened. Like, here's that black and white behind the scenes.
If this was a perfect video, I would have edited all the coughing out of it.
Hey, you know what? It's real. It's that time of the year. It's ripping around the country anyway. I had it 3 weeks ago. We couldn't have done this interview then. We both would have been muted for most of it. And just, nodding, but with our cheeks blowing up because we're trying to stifle coughs,
I bet that would go viral though, too.
It probably would, yeah. Two guys staring at each other on a webcam with chipmunk cheeks.
How do my listeners get a hold of you? And they can go back and listen to episode 17, of course, but what's the website? And can they order that old book of yours from 2004, the one that you have hundreds of copies of?
The one that I just found, actually, that's not on my main site, because that is from the DJ half of my life. So that one you can get at Steve Gamlin, Gamlin, DJ, SteveGamlinDJ.com. Everything else, speaking related, the YouTube videos, etc., it's SteveGamlin.com. Nice and easy. Everything's under one roof.
All righty. Hey, this was great. And coughs and all, and taps and smacks and shiny object syndromes and staying focused. It's always great to interview you because you're real, you're raw, and you inspire people.
I hope so. And I appreciate that, because there's no fakeness about it. I mean, turn on the camera, get on the webcam, just be yourself. And I appreciate that about you as well. You're not one of those people who says, oh, Steve, I want to interview you. Write down 10 questions you want me to ask you. And then when I ask them to you, say, Rob, that's a great, insightful question.
I don't know some questions.
Crazy when people do that. I'm like, let's just turn on the camera and have a conversation. Tell you what, ask me this question first, and then let's just see where it goes. And that's what I love about our conversations, is we just get on the online, and you ask me a question, and there we go. There's our message.
I never prep for the interviews because, heck, I don't even know the questions I'm going to ask.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, what questions are you going to ask me? Well, heck, I don't know. Let's get on video and find out. And they're like, no, I need to prep for the question. No, you don't need to prep, because then you'll sound too robotic when you get, so don't prep. Just go out there live, get on a video, make them. You're going to be so much, here's the deal. When people can experience you in the real, the raw, the emotional, the passion, they're going to trust you better. And that's simple as that. You don't need anything to sell them, because they're going to say, wow, Rob, I like what you're doing. I like, the simplicity. I like the authenticity. You are the guy I want to trust. And that's all I teach.
Yep. Yeah. I remember one of my favorite moments on stage. This was years ago. It was a pretty small speaking event. My picture was not on a poster anywhere for this, and I actually prefer that. And I never wear name tags anyway at an event. I'm sitting and talking right near the stage. I turned around a folding metal chair, sat on it backwards, put my arms up, had this amazing conversation with these two attendees. And then somebody said, oh, we're going to start in 5 minutes. And I said, oh, geez, I better go find my seat. And so I wandered to the back of the room, and then I got introduced, and I get up on the stage, and I hear these two people in one of those very loud whispers, holy crap, that guy was the speaker. And they came over afterward, and they said, man, why were you talking to us beforehand? I'm like, well, why wouldn't I? I overheard you talking about something cool, and I just felt like being part of the conversation. And that's all I even do on stage. I'm just having a conversation with 1,000 people at a time. Yeah. But I want to be that same person. Again, imperfect face, hair, body, everything, just being me. And there's no such thing as me, either one of us getting on the camera and going, okay, this is the right angle. And then using the voice going, Rob, that's very insightful. Thank you for that. We're just us, man, warts and all. And I love that. That's when sometimes people say, we want to hire you for this, but you've got to talk about this, and this. Well, I don't talk about those things. I just actually turned down a speaking event the other day, but I'll never turn it down without handing them off to the right person, because I know everybody. I mean, put it this way, I know people that cover all topics.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, look, I can't do this with 100% integrity. I can tell the stories, but I can't get to the root issue of the group of people you have as your audience. Let me deliver you to this person who is uniquely and authentically himself,
Mm-hmm.
but speaks that language.
Yeah.
Great. So I just helped out a friend and was authentic with my client. I've spoken for this client 9 times already. They just had a different type of need this time, which I couldn't fill. I'm not going to pretend I can, because I can't. And I'm not going to sleep well if I do.
Right. And you touched on it, authenticity, and you got to be the authentic you. And here's I think some entrepreneurs, we as entrepreneurs develop our own systems. We develop our own ways of doing things. And that's what our clients are hiring us to do, or they think that's what they're hiring us to do, until you get hired. And then they want us to follow their system, which is unproven, which is unfounded, which won't get results, but they say that's what they're paying us to do. Well, no, you're paying us to be an employee, and that's not what an entrepreneur is all about. So if you're not following your own internal system, your own way of doing things and calling the shots, you got to get rid of that client. Otherwise, it's going to stress you out. It's going to make you do things that you don't want to do. It's going to have, you'll be cursing in the background, and you're going to hate that client, and the money's not even going to be worth it.
Yep.
So you have to be your authentic self all the time.
Yeah. And when you do say yes to something that is going to derail, it's going to tap your shoulder so many times before it becomes a head smack. Mm-hmm. And this one had tapped a few times, and I kept thinking, well, what if I come at it from this way? And I tried to find a way that I could do that event, and I just can't. I mean, where I'm from is just not qualified to deliver at the level they need. Mm-hmm. It was tap, 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 smack, wake up, just hand them off to this person. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I did, it was the most freeing thing, because this had been dogging me for a couple of weeks, and just knowing in my gut I wasn't the right person for this. Tap, 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 tap. Even procrastinated. I said, well, let me think about it for 3 to 5 days. Duh, it still wasn't the right decision, all those taps. And finally it was a smack in the head, and I just had to say, no, this is not authentically me. I've got to listen to these taps. Otherwise, right up until the day I get on stage, and while I'm on stage, I'm going to know that this is not me, and this is not for me. And I'm actually doing a disservice to my client by veering off my own path of authenticity. Stay on your path, because the right people will be on that path waiting for you. But if you're off here trying to be somebody else, you're going to keep attracting the wrong people who think you're the right person. And then ultimately it's going to disappoint both of you. And if you have a conscience, it is going to disappoint you as well.
So all the listeners out there, if you want to stay an e-hero, remain an e-hero, you have to stay on the path. You have to listen to those taps and not get smacked. So thank you, Steve, for being an awesome guest. And for those that want to learn more about Steve, go to his websites. And for those that are watching this down the road, I'll have them down below. Hey, thanks again, Steve.
Thank you, Rob. Happy to be here. Be well.